The combat hall of the Interstellar Academy pulsed with low gravity and quiet tension. Translucent walls shimmered with holographic constellations, their light bending through the misty air. Rows of alien cadets hovered in formation, some crystalline and faceted like glass, others soft-bodied, floating on pressurized air sacs. Only one figure stood firmly on the ground. The human Evelyn Drake adjusted her stance, boots magnetized to the floor. The artificial gravity here fluctuated every 12 seconds. She had already timed it, mapped the rhythm in her head. Most of the aliens didn't notice, but she did. She noticed everything. At the far end of the hall, Instructor Valkaran paced. His segmented body clacked softly, each step measured, deliberate. Plates of deep emerald chitin glimmered under the white light. His compound eyes never blinked. Today's lesson, he rasped, his voice a dry scrape through the air, is control, the ability to suppress primitive impulse. Something our Deathworlder guests might find challenging. A faint ripple of laughter passed through the ranks. Evelyn said nothing. Her hands rested calmly behind her back, fingers steady. She didn't meet his gaze. She didn't need to. Valkaran's antennae twitched. "Cadet Drake," he said. "Step forward." The murmurs faded. A floating reptilian cadet whispered to another, "She could crush us if she wanted." Evelyn heard it. She let it slide. She always did. She stepped into the center ring, an oval lined with energy conduits. The field hummed faintly, adjusting to her mass. Across from her, Valkaran extended his upper limbs, talons tapping against one another. "Your species," he continued, "thrives on violence. Even your diplomacy is soaked in blood. Tell me, human, have you learned peace or merely how to hide the knife?" Evelyn's reply was level. "Peace isn't learned. It's chosen." The instructor tilted his head. "So you claim control." "I practice it." The silence that followed was sharp. "Show us then," he hissed. The test of control. He activated the gravity distortion. The room tilted faintly. Cadets drifted upward, watching with wide alien eyes. Evelyn remained anchored, body aligned, breathing even. Valkaran circled her, each step echoing. "You have remarkable stillness, human. I wonder how deep it runs." Without warning, his forearm struck her cheek. A sharp ringing sound cracked through the hall. Evelyn didn't flinch. Her head turned slightly with the blow, her boots unmoved. The impact stung, but she'd felt worse in training back on Earth. Gravity drills, vacuum exposure, a dozen survival tests. This was nothing. The cadets gasped. The floating avians fluttered backward, feathers trembling. "Interesting," Valkaran said, circling again. "Pain tolerance. A predictable defense mechanism." He struck her again, harder. The blow pushed her half a step sideways. Blood welled faintly where chitin had split her lip. She exhaled once, steady. Her inner voice counted, 3 heartbeats, then stillness. The whole temperature dropped 2 degrees. She could feel every breath, every vibration from the energy field beneath her boots. "Still standing?" His tone sharpened, part surprise, part frustration. "Tell me, human, do you think this restraint makes you civilized?" Evelyn lifted her gaze. Cold, precise. "No, it makes me dangerous." That silenced the whispers. Even the drones hovering overhead paused their motion. Valkaran stopped pacing. His mandibles twitched in irritation. "You misunderstand your place. This academy tolerates your kind. But you are specimens, not equals." Evelyn didn't answer. She could taste iron. A faint tremor passed through her jaw, but it wasn't fear, it was calculation. He raised his limb again. The talon gleamed. "Let this be demonstration. Control is earned, not declared," he swung. She didn't move. His talon scraped her shoulder, tearing fabric but missing flesh. Valkaran leaned closer, voice low. "Hit back. Show them what you really are." She stared straight ahead. Her voice, when it came, was calm. "If I did, you wouldn't get up." The class froze. No one laughed now. "Arrogance," he spat. Exactly as expected. He turned to the others. "Observe. Humanity hides behind self-control, but their instinct," her whisper cut through him like a blade. "That was your warning." He froze mid-sentence. The sound of her voice was flat, almost emotionless, but something in it made the air feel heavier. A crystalline cadet whispered, "She's not bluffing." Valkaran ignored it. His pride couldn't. We'll see. He took a step closer. The energy field trembled under the weight of his body. The instructor loomed over her, claws flexing. 10 seconds, Deathworlder. Prove your civility. Her eyes didn't leave his. 10 seconds, she repeated softly. He sneered and turned away, addressing the others again, half showman, half tyrant. This is the limit of Deathworld evolution. Strength without... Evelyn's voice interrupted him once more, quiet but absolute. 9! The word hung in the air. He turned, mandibles clattering. What? 8, she said. A hush fell. The drone's lights dimmed, adjusting exposure automatically. Valkaran stepped back, unsure why. Explain yourself. 7, she continued. Something primal rippled through the crowd. Even those who didn't understand human counting felt the rhythm in her tone. 6. Her gaze locked onto him. Her pupils had narrowed, breathing slow. The temperature dropped again. 5. Valkaran flexed his claws. You threaten me? 4. He took another step. You forget where you are, human. 3. The hum of the energy conduits deepened. The air felt heavy. Her stance shifted almost imperceptibly, weight aligned, heel pivoted. 2. One of the cadets whispered, Instructor, maybe... Silence. He barked. Evelyn's final word was barely a breath. 1. The lights flickered. Nothing happened. Yet the room felt different. Valkaran drew himself up, laughing derisively, but it sounded forced. She turned away, calm as ever, returning to her position in the line. The countdown wasn't for him. It was for her. To remind herself that control still held. For now, Valkaran's laughter echoed weakly. You see? Empty posturing. Even their defiance is performative. But no one joined in. Evelyn wiped the blood from her lip, voice level as she spoke to no one in particular. A predator warns before it kills. Civility is mercy measured in seconds. The instructor's mandibles clicked shut. The silence after was total. The gravity field normalized. Cadets landed softly, still staring. The lesson was over, but no one moved until she did. Evelyn stepped off the platform, expression unreadable, footsteps echoing softly on the alloy floor. Behind her, Valkaran stood frozen, antennae twitching faintly. For the first time, he couldn't find words, and though she didn't look back, she knew. The next lesson would end differently. The recording began at 0900. The drone cameras hovered in silence, their blue lights fixed on the combat hall. Every cadet was ordered to witness the remedial session of Cadet Evelyn Drake. Human, Deathworld origin. The purpose? Demonstration of restraint. The subtext? Humiliation. Evelyn stood alone in the ring again. Her uniform had been repaired but not replaced. Faint traces of torn stitching marked her shoulder. She kept her eyes down, hands clasped behind her back. Around her, whispers rustled like wind through dry leaves. Valkaran entered. The sound of his chitin plates striking the floor was deliberate, rhythmic, the kind of rhythm used in war to build fear before a charge. He didn't greet her. He didn't need to. His presence was the greeting. Cadet Drake, he said, voice rough with restrained satisfaction. I trust your reflection period has reminded you of your station. Evelyn's tone was even. It reminded me who I am. He stopped pacing, antennae twitching. We will correct that. The words carried to every corner of the room. The other cadets pulled back instinctively. None of them had ever seen a Deathworlder bleed twice in one cycle. He gestured to the drones. Begin recording. Subject, human restraint under duress. The lights brightened. Evelyn blinked once, adjusting. Her pulse slowed. Her breathing fell into rhythm with the hum of the gravity field. The low artificial pull beneath her boots steadied her thoughts. 10 beats to calm, just like Earth training. Valkaran extended a limb toward her. You will not raise your hand. You will not strike back. You will demonstrate the evolution of your species, if any such evolution exists. Evelyn didn't answer. She didn't need to. He lunged. The first hit caught her across the chest. The impact forced air from her lungs. She exhaled sharply but didn't move her feet. Her jaw locked. Her gaze fixed on a point behind him, somewhere distant. He circled. Control requires humility, human. Show us you have learned. He struck again. a backhanded motion that cracked against her shoulder. Pain shot down her arm, but she steadied her breathing, each inhale slower than the last. The audience murmured. A crystalline cadet whispered, "Why doesn't she stop him?" The avian beside it replied, "Maybe she can't." They were both wrong. She chose not to. Valkaran's claws clicked as he paced, still silent. Admirable mimicry of discipline. "But your kind's silence always ends in screams." He struck her again. The blow spun her halfway around. The gravity field flickered from the force. She caught herself on one knee, then rose slowly, eyes forward. He sneered. "Look at me when I speak." She did. And for the first time, he hesitated. Something in her gaze wasn't rage. It wasn't defiance. It was calculation, cold, surgical, as though she were observing a specimen on a table. Evelyn spoke quietly. "You misunderstand control." Valkaran tilted his head. "Enlighten us." "Control isn't silence," she said. "It's knowing exactly when to stop counting." The instructor's mandibles flared. "Counting?" Her voice lowered. 7. The number confused him. "What? 6? The drones shifted focus. Audio sensors recalibrated to catch her voice. 5. The air thickened. Even the hum of the energy conduits felt quieter. 4. He took a step back. "Explain yourself, human." 3. He raised his claws. "Cease this childish act or—" 2. Her muscles coiled, barely perceptible beneath her uniform. Her eyes sharpened, locked directly on the thin line at the base of his throat where two chitin plates met. 1. The room froze. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then motion blurred. She shifted her weight, pivoted under his raised limb, and struck once, a perfect, controlled blow. Her hand didn't crush or tear. It found the precise nerve cluster that regulated respiration in his species. His body convulsed, mandibles clattering. The impact echoed like metal on stone. He collapsed to one knee, hands clawing at the air. His internal vents spasmed, struggling to open. His eyes widened, then dulled. Evelyn stepped back exactly 2 paces. Her breathing remained calm. 10 seconds, she said softly. "That's all you had!" Panic erupted around her. Drones beeped, capturing every angle. Cadets shouted in a dozen languages. Medical officers sprinted forward, their tendrils glowing with stimulants. The instructor twitched on the floor, gasping soundlessly. Evelyn knelt beside him, pressing 2 fingers to his neck. Calmly, she adjusted his head position to clear the airway. Then she looked up at the stunned medics. "He'll live if you move now." They hesitated. None dared approach her. "Now," she repeated. The medics obeyed. They rushed him out on an anti-grav stretcher, leaving behind silence that felt heavier than gravity itself. The student stared at her like she'd just torn open the laws of physics. Evelyn stood, straightened her collar, and turned toward the nearest drone. End recording. The command triggered automatic protocol. All drones froze, awaiting manual override. She walked out of the ring without looking at anyone. Every step was measured. No one spoke until she was gone. When the silence finally broke, it was the crystalline cadet who whispered first. "She didn't kill him," the avian replied, voice trembling. "She could have." "That's worse." Outside the hall, Evelyn sat on a metal bench facing the observation deck. Her knuckles were pale but steady. She watched the stars drifting beyond the glass, motionless, perfect, uncaring. Behind her, 2 security officers approached cautiously. Both were armed, Cadet Drake, one said. "By order of the Council Oversight Division, you are to be detained for review." Evelyn didn't resist. "Of course." She stood, hands clasped loosely in front of her. The officer cuffed her wrists with magnetic restraints. Ceremonial, really. The cuffs couldn't hold her if she wanted out. She followed them without protest. They led her through sterile corridors lit by bioluminescent panels. Every alien they passed stared, some with fear, some with awe, none with pity. At the end of the corridor waited the Academy's adjudicator, a tall, translucent being whose body shimmered like oil in water. Its voice resonated directly in her mind. "You attacked an instructor during demonstration. Explain." Evelyn met its gaze calmly. I ended a threat. He was unarmed. So was I. He was testing control. I demonstrated it. The adjudicator tilted its featureless head. Define your intent. She hesitated only a second. To stop him without killing him. A long pause. The being pulsed faintly. Your restraint prevented termination. Evelyn nodded once. That was the point. You understand this incident will reach the Galactic Council. I expect it to. And you are not afraid? Should I be? The being said nothing for several seconds. Then faintly, perhaps not. But they will be. That night, the recording went live. It spread across 100 planetary networks within hours. The footage of a Deathworld human counting down and an alien instructor collapsing mid-class ignited every forum and news feed. On one side, outrage. On the other, awe. The galactic commentators couldn't decide what was more terrifying, her efficiency or her calm. And somewhere on Earth, deep in a secure embassy beneath Orbital Defense Command, a single line appeared in the human ambassador's log. Subject Evelyn Drake. Event trigger. Alpha confirmed. 10 seconds was enough. The tribunal chamber was silent except for the soft hum of the atmospheric stabilizers. Its walls, smooth, transparent quartz alloy, offered a perfect view of the void beyond. Dozens of alien representatives filled the circular hall, each illuminated by the blue glow of their personal data feeds. At the center stood Evelyn Drake, unshackled, motionless. Above her, suspended holograms replayed the incident. Each second of the recording unfolded from multiple angles: the instructor's strike, her stillness, her calm countdown, and then his collapse. The scene looped again and again, dissected in slow motion by a dozen alien analysts, murmuring in disbelief. Subject exhibits lethal precision without aggression, one aquatic delegate said. Impossible without intent to kill. Another voice, crystalline and cold, replied, Intent? She warned him. A ripple of argument spread through the hall. Evelyn said nothing. Her eyes remained fixed on the floor, her breathing steady. She could feel the vibrations of every voice through the alloy beneath her boots. Each species carried a different rhythm of outrage. She counted them like heartbeats. At the far end of the chamber, the adjudicator from her interrogation appeared again, its liquid form pulsing faintly. Order, it resonated, voice echoing directly in their minds. This hearing concerns Cadet Evelyn Drake of Earth, accused of inflicting harm upon Instructor Valkaran during sanctioned training. A dozen alien eyes turned toward her. Do you deny your actions? Evelyn raised her head. No, murmurs rippled again. Do you claim provocation? She paused. I claim necessity. The adjudicator's hue darkened. Necessity is not justification. Evelyn met its formless gaze. Neither is cruelty. That drew silence. One of the Varaxian counselors, Valkaran's kin, judging by the iridescent armor plates, rose from his platform, voice trembling with contained fury. You humans cloak savagery and discipline. 10 seconds! That was no defense, it was demonstration, Evelyn answered evenly. It was mercy, he hissed. You silenced a superior officer. I stopped an assault, she said. There's a difference. Semantics. No, she said softly. Control. The word hung in the air. The aquatic delegate shifted, water rippling inside its containment shell. What did you intend when you counted down? To remind myself to stop, Evelyn replied. Humans measure moments differently. We count heartbeats when we're afraid, seconds when we're angry. Counting gives us distance. You admit anger? Discipline isn't absence of anger, she said. It's direction. Several delegates leaned toward one another, murmuring translations. Some nodded. Others recoiled. The hologram replayed again. Valkaran's hit, the blow, the countdown, and then the strike that took him down. This time, the playback slowed even further. It showed her posture before and after impact, unflinching, focused, an immediate return to stillness. A cybernetic delegate spoke next, its voice layered and synthetic. The blow was precise, targeted to neural intersection. Military application, Evelyn nodded once. Correct, Training origin? Earth Survival Core, Level 6. The machine's lenses dilated faintly. That's advanced combat conditioning. Yes. Then you anticipated the assault. I anticipated bias, she said. The assault confirmed it. A pause. The machine withdrew. The adjudicator pulsed again. Human, do you comprehend the consequence? The Council fears what this implies about your species. I understand, she said. Fear is the first stage of respect. That made the hall stir, some in outrage, others in grim amusement. The adjudicator turned toward the delegates. Then it falls to this assembly to decide, is humanity's strength a threat to the order or its proof of evolution? The debate began. Voices clashed in every register. Some demanded her expulsion and Earth suspension from the Integration Treaty. Others argued her restraint proved the Deathworlder species could coexist under law. Evelyn stood through it all, still as carved stone. Every so often her gaze flicked to the viewport, Varaxis Prime turning slowly beneath them, blue and gold and indifferent. After nearly an hour, the chamber lights dimmed. The adjudicator called for silence. We have heard the arguments. We will now hear the subject's final statement before deliberation. Evelyn stepped forward. The floor beneath her glowed faintly as it read her biosignature. When my father trained me, she began, he said a weapon's worth is measured by the hand that holds it. You fear our strength because you've only seen strength used to dominate. On Earth, we learned another kind. The strength to stop, to hold the line, to endure. Her eyes scanned the room. Valkaran wanted to prove humans were violent. He succeeded, just not in the way he intended. You saw what happens when violence meets control. No sound followed. Even the air recycler seemed quieter. I didn't attack him, she continued. I ended a moment that should have ended itself. I gave him 10 seconds to choose restraint. He chose pride, her voice softened. So I chose to breathe instead. She stepped back, folding her hands again. That's all. The adjudicator pulsed once more. Deliberation begins. The chamber dimmed to deep violet. The counselors' holograms vanished one by one into private vote mode. Evelyn stood alone in the fading light, listening to the faint hum of energy conduits. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Finally, the chamber brightened again. The adjudicator's form coalesced, its colors steady and neutral. By majority decision, the council declares the act defensive. No penalty will be enforced. However, Cadet Drake's presence is deemed disruptive to interspecies stability. Effective immediately, she will be reassigned to Earth Embassy custody. Evelyn inclined her head once. Understood, the Varaxian representative hissed. You reward her for violence? The adjudicator replied evenly. We reward her for stopping. Hours later, Evelyn sat in the transport bay overlooking Varaxis Prime. The stars shimmered across her reflection in the viewport. Her duffel lay at her side, untouched. Footsteps approached behind her. The human ambassador, a lean man in a gray diplomatic coat, stopped a few paces away. You handled yourself well, he said quietly. I did what was necessary. You scared half the council. I noticed. He leaned against the railing, watching the planet spin. They'll debate this for years. Some think you're a warning. Some think you're hope. Evelyn's reflection met his. Which do you think? He smiled faintly. Both. Depends who's watching. They stood in silence for a moment. The station's lights dimmed as it entered orbital shadow. She turned to him. What happens now? You return to Earth, quietly. Command wants debrief and medical eval. After that, maybe an advisory role. Evelyn nodded. And the footage? He exhaled. It's already viral. They call you the 10-second girl. She frowned slightly. That's not what it was about. I know, he said. But stories have their own gravity. She looked back out at the stars. Let them believe what they need to. Fear keeps peace longer than trust. He studied her for a moment. That line right there, that's why the galaxy doesn't understand us. Evelyn almost smiled. They will. She stood, lifting her duffel, and turned toward the boarding ramp. The automated voice announced, Transport to Earth Embassy. Departure in 60 seconds. As she walked, the ambassador called after her. Drake! She stopped. He said, If anyone ever asks what you did up there, what should I tell them? She didn't look back. Tell them I kept count. The ramp sealed behind her with a soft hiss. Out the viewport, the shuttle detached, descending toward the blue curve of Varaxis Prime. In its wake, a quiet fear spread through the stars, not of humanity's strength, but of the terrifying calm that wielded it. Earth's night stretched endless and quiet beneath the orbital sky. The shuttle descended through soft clouds, its hull glowing faintly from re-entry heat. Inside, Evelyn Drake sat strapped in, eyes half open, her reflection fractured by the viewport's reinforced glass. She hadn't slept since the hearing. Her mind replayed every second, not of the strike, not of the countdown, but of the silence that followed. Silence always lingered longer than impact. The shuttle landed at Fort Meridian, a military complex built deep in the Rockies. Snow fell in sheets outside as the ramp lowered. Cold air swept in, crisp and clean, so unlike Varaxis Prime's filtered atmosphere. A figure waited at the base of the ramp. Colonel Nathan Hale, commander of Earth's Integration Corps. Broad-shouldered, silver-haired, his presence radiated controlled authority. He didn't salute. Neither did she. "Welcome home, Cadet Drake," he said, voice low and even. Evelyn stepped down, boots crunching on snow. "Cadet?" she asked. "Didn't I graduate by accident?" His mouth twitched. "Let's call it a battlefield promotion." They walked through the corridor together. The walls hummed with energy from shield generators, the faint throb of human technology. Dense, heavy, unapologetic. It felt grounding after months among fragile species afraid of noise, weight, and pulse. Inside the debrief chamber, the lights dimmed to amber. A holographic console projected her file. Evelyn Drake, incident code Alpha 10. Footage hovered mid-air, frozen on the frame of her turning away from Valkaran's body. The colonel studied it. "You understand the impact of this?" Evelyn nodded. "The galaxy thinks we're monsters again." "Some do," he admitted. "Others think we're gods. Either way, they remember we exist," he tapped the console. Dozens of galactic news headlines flickered in rapid sequence. Deathworld girl defies council. The 10-second human. Humanity's discipline or danger. Evelyn exhaled slowly. It was never supposed to be a performance. Hale crossed his arms. "Intent doesn't matter. Optics do. You demonstrated what we've been trying to prove for decades. That humans can choose when not to strike. And they're terrified of that," she said quietly. He nodded. "Fear maintains distance. Distance buys peace." Her eyes lifted to his. "Peace built on fear doesn't last. Neither does peace built on trust," he countered. "Not with species that think mercy is weakness." The silence that followed wasn't disagreement. It was acknowledgement. He deactivated the hologram. "Command wants you reassigned to the Human Embassy Defense Corps. Low visibility post, diplomatic protection. Officially, you'll be a liaison. Unofficially, you're a message." Evelyn's tone was flat. "A living warning." "Exactly." She looked at the blank wall. "If the message is that humans can kill without rage, it's the wrong one." The colonel's expression softened. "Maybe. But it's the only one they'll listen to." Later that night, Evelyn stood alone on the observation deck overlooking the northern ranges. The airlock hissed open behind her. Boots echoed lightly on the steel floor. Ambassador Leora Singh approached, coat trailing the floor, datapad in hand. Her sharp eyes studied Evelyn as though reading a dossier that didn't yet exist. "You don't look like someone who just changed interstellar politics." "I didn't," Evelyn said. "I just stopped breathing for 10 seconds. Leora smiled faintly. "History prefers simple math." They stood side by side, watching the auroras shimmer across the atmosphere. Leora continued, "The Council has split. Some want human presence restricted. Others, particularly the Tessarians, want joint combat training programs with Earth instructors. You've started both fear and fascination." "Fascination's worse," Evelyn murmured. "Fear keeps distance. Fascination brings contact." "Contact is inevitable," Leora said. "What matters is how we walk into it." "You could help shape that," Evelyn glanced at her. "You're asking me to be a diplomat?" "I'm asking you to stand in a room full of species who think they understand strength and prove them wrong again." Evelyn's lips curved slightly. Without counting to 10 this time? If possible. By morning, she was cleared for reassignment. A small transport waited on the pad, sleek, black, Earth-made. As she approached, a young technician handed her a data pad. Incoming message, encrypted priority. The display flickered to life, showing Valkaran. His breathing was shallow, his face partially covered by medical respirators, but his compound eyes were steady. "Human," his voice rasped. "I survived," against my expectations. Evelyn froze, thumb hovering over the playback control. He continued. I replayed the footage. "You could have ended me completely. You didn't. I was wrong about your kind. You don't lack control, you are control." The message ended. Evelyn stood motionless for several seconds. Then she smiled faintly, a small human thing. No triumph, no mockery. Just quiet acknowledgement. She handed the datapad back. "Archive that." The technician blinked. "Under what tag?" She thought for a moment. Proof. The transport rose through layers of white cloud. From orbit, Earth shone bright and wild, its oceans reflecting unfiltered light. Evelyn watched in silence, hands resting loosely on her knees. Below, storms swirled across continents. Above, the stars waited, unchanged, watching. She remembered her father's words during early training. A soldier's duty isn't to fight, it's to know when to stop. She hadn't understood it then. She did now. The galaxy mistook calm for weakness because they'd never lived on a planet that tried to kill them daily. On Earth, control wasn't moral, it was survival. A voice crackled through the comms. "Approaching orbit of the Varaxis Embassy Station. ETA 15 minutes. Evelyn's thoughts sharpened. She would walk again among those who feared her, this time without violence. She would speak, listen, wait, teach them that the most dangerous thing humanity carried wasn't its strength. It was its patience. The station's docking bay gleamed as she stepped out. Delegates from a dozen species lined the platform, flanked by drones broadcasting live. Their eyes tracked her every motion, waiting for aggression that never came. Evelyn stood before the podium, the human insignia glinting faintly on her shoulder. The ambassador's voice echoed across the chamber. Representative Evelyn Drake, speaking for Earth. She looked at the gathered faces, some hostile, some curious, all wary. Her voice carried calm authority. "Your instructor called us beasts. Many of you believed him. Then you saw what happens when a beast refuses to bite." Murmurs rippled, but she continued. "You think fear protects you? It doesn't. Fear is temporary. Understanding lasts." She paused, letting the silence grow until it demanded attention. "Humanity doesn't seek dominance. We seek stability. We learned long ago that survival isn't about destruction. It's about endurance. You fear us because we endure everything you can't imagine. Fire, gravity, loss. And through all of it, we learn restraint." Her gaze swept the hall. "That's not weakness. That's civilization." The audience was still. Even the recording drones hovered soundlessly. Evelyn stepped back. 10 seconds changed your opinion of humanity. Imagine what we can do with 10 years. For a moment, no one moved. Then one of the Tessarian delegates, tall and shimmering like liquid metal, bowed slightly. Others followed, uncertain but willing. The tide had shifted, not toward love, not yet, but toward recognition. As Evelyn left the stage, Leora Singh met her at the exit, eyes bright. "You realize what you just did?" Evelyn shrugged lightly. "Gave them something else to talk about." The ambassador smiled. "You turned fear into policy." Evelyn looked through the viewport at the endless sprawl of stars. "No," she said softly. "I turned 10 seconds into peace." Outside, the void remained silent, but the galaxy was no longer the same. The name Evelyn Drake would circle through every world, not as the girl who killed, but as the one who stopped. And that, she thought, was the real power humanity carried into the stars.